In this video, we're going to learn about the temperature sensor built into the JackBord Basic. This is the fourth video in a series of 10 about sensors. For this video, you're going to need the JackBord Basic, a USB-C cable, a PC or a Chromebook, and either the Google Chrome web browser or the Microsoft Edge web browser. So first, let's look at what temperature actually is. So temperature is a measure of the average kinetic energy of the particles in a substance or system. And kinetic energy refers to the movement of things, so movement of atoms in this case. So essentially, the colder something is, the less movement there is in the atoms of that substance. And the hotter it is, the more movement of the atoms there is. And so essentially this is a way of describing the movement of atoms in a substance. Now temperature is measured in degrees Celsius, and this was invented by Andreas Celsius in 1742. The temperature sensor is in this chip which is mounted on the JackBord Basic, and it contains a thing called a silicon bandgap temperature sensor, and that's inside this chip. And basically it's a special type of silicon that is used to measure temperature. And so what happens is the electronics inside the chip convert the readings from that sensor and then turn them into a form that the Basic can understand. And then it's broadcast and sent out on these pins. So you've got pins for power, but you also have pins for communication. So essentially this chip measures its own temperature, converts that into a useful format for the JackBord Basic, and then sends it using these pins. So if we look at the block diagram, so this is from the manufacturer of the chip, you can see this is the sensor itself, so a silicon bandgap temperature sensor. And then what you've got is a system that converts the output from the sensor into a digital form. And then basically you've got a whole lot of processing electronics in the middle, and that's the processing section. And finally, this is called a two-wire interface, and that is where the data is made available to the JackBord Basic. And that happens on these two pins here. So essentially, the chip measures its own temperature, and the readings come out on these pins. So again, we come back to the central idea of a sensor, where you have a detector, a processor, and output. And again, so looking at the block diagram, there's the detector, this is the processing side of things, and then these are the outputs. So again, you have a detector, which in this case is the sensor itself, processor, and an output. So let's look at some temperatures in real life. If you look over here, it takes about 1.16 watts of electrical power to raise the temperature of 1 kilo of water by 1 degree centigrade. So 1 kilo of water is equivalent to about 1 litre. So if I had a 2 litre container of milk and I wanted to raise its current temperature by 1 degree Celsius, I would need to use about 2.2 watts of power. So if we look at this table here, these are various temperatures. And the first one is absolute zero, and it's minus 273 degrees Celsius. And the reason that it's called absolute zero is that this is as cold as you can get. There is no minus 274. Absolute zero is the coldest anything in the universe can be. And in fact, if you look down at the bottom here, one of the cameras on the James Webb Space Telescope actually operates at minus 266 degrees Celsius or 7 degrees Kelvin. And what the 7 degrees Kelvin means is that there is a scale called the Kelvin scale, named after Lord Kelvin. And zero on the Kelvin scale is absolute zero. So essentially the Space Telescope, that particular camera, operates at just 7 degrees above absolute zero. And at absolute zero, atoms are not moving. There is literally zero movement. They're not doing anything. The next one is the freezing point of water. And notice it says at sea level and at 0 degrees Celsius. And the freezing point of water on Mount Everest is also 0. The body temperature of a healthy human is 37. But the boiling point of water on Mount Everest is 71 degrees Celsius. And that's because of the lower air pressure. But the boiling point of water in your kitchen, for example, is 100 degrees Celsius. So it's interesting that the freezing points don't change, but the boiling points do. The melting point of iron is 1538 approximately degrees Celsius, and the temperature of the surface of the sun is about 5600 degrees Celsius. So these are some common temperature values to give you a perspective on temperature. To get readings from the temperature sensor, we use the GT command. So in the example here, the temperature is 22.88 degrees Celsius. Okay, I'm here on the command line in the Start tab. I've got my basic here. So first of all, let's go GT to get the current temperature, and that's 22.25. So now if I put my finger on the sensor, just let it warm up a bit, and then we run the GT command again, you can see it's gone up to 23.25, 23.38, so it's slowly increasing. So this is the temperature here on channel 35. Now, as we did with the light sensor, there's also a system variable that lets you get the temperature as well. And that's the s_jbtemp system variable. So we'll run this line here next, and that will show us the current reading from the temperature sensor. So I'm back here in the command page, so I'm going to go jb, which is print, then I'm going to go temp. We want to use the s_jbtemp system variable. So this will print the current temperature reading. And there it is, 22.25. Do it again. And then if I put my finger on there, just to try and warm it up a bit. And we run the command again. It's gone up to 23 and rising. So that's how you can use the sjbtemp system variable to display the temperature, and you can also use the temperature in your programs and do lots of other cool things. And finally, you can get temperature readings from the temperature sensor on the live page. So I'm back in the dashboard, so I'm going to click on live. And now we need to put our finger on there. You can see it's changing. So if I click on it, there we go. So it's slowly increasing. I'll take it off again, and it falls back down. So this is looking at live temperature readings on the live page. So to summarize, temperature is a measure of the kinetic energy of atoms. So that's their movement, how much they jiggle around. So at very, very cold temperatures, like absolute zero, they practically don't move. Whereas at very high temperatures, they're moving incredibly fast. And the temperature sensor has a detector that senses temperature and then converts it into a form that the JackBord Basic can use. One thing to note here is just because you have a temperature sensor on the JackBord Basic doesn't mean you can put it anywhere. So never expose it to extreme temperatures. So don't put it in a freezer, don't put it in an oven, that kind of thing. You can use the GT command to get readings from the temperature sensor. And finally, you can also use the jbtemp system variable as well to get readings. In the next video, we're going to learn how to use gauges to display readings from sensors like the temperature sensor and the light sensor. To get to the next video, visit jb.works and search the TMT code shown on the screen. For more information and to get help, visit jb.works.